place, masjid.
Mm.
A person builds a place for prayer, masjid. But if there is no 7 days, 5 salat, that's not a masjid.
Okay. Just start to let you know. طيب بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Welcome in our weekly lesson Islamic discussion in one of the important things that we have in our life, which is the transactions or the sales and transactions which are running every day. And last time we explained one of the prohibited trading, to trade with the khamr, the wine, to trade with the idol, to trade with the mayta, the dead animal, and to trade with the khanzir, the pig. And before we go to the next point, I would like to explain one of the very important thing in the khamr, in the wine. The khamr is meaning that it is covering the mind, and any kind of drink do that will take the same hukm of khamr. It does not necessary to be from grape or from date or from barley. So any juice that fermented and produce alcohol, and it will have the same ruling of the khamr. And we mentioned the vinegar, which comes from the khamr by fermentation. And we explained that if the vinegar produced from the khamr directly, without any initiation, in this case, it is lawful to use this what's called vinegar. And we need to be careful when we buy the vinegar from the market, make sure it is a natural fermented brand. Because if it is initiated, majority of scholars said it is unlawful to use this vinegar. Tonight's lesson, we mentioned about another example of the prohibited trading. And this one is very famous, very common in our daily life, and maybe many people don't know about it, which is trading or buying and selling inside the masjid. Buying and selling inside the masjid. And just before we start the live stream, one brother asked me about the masjid. If someone have a place for praying few salah, not the 5 daily salah, is that regarded as a masjid? So we need, before we explain, subhanAllah, the question come on the point of tonight, because before we start explain it is prohibited to sell and buy in the masjid, we need to define what is the masjid and what is the place that can regard it as a masjid. We have in this term, we have masjid, we have jami', we have musalla. Again, masjid, jami' and musalla. Masjid is a broad name that cover everything. Masjid from the verb sajada, prostrate. So the masjid is a place of prostration. So any place you do sujood, it is a masjid. Any place, even in the park. جُعِلَتْ لِيَ الْأَرْضُ طَهُورًا وَمَسْجِدًا. The earth made it a pure and a masjid for prayer, means a place for prostration. So the masjid is generally any place you can do sujood on it. This is the masjid. The jami' means from jama'a, means collection. It's collect the people. The people will be gathered in the place. Like this place is called the jami', a big masjid. So the big masjid is called jami'. And especially in Friday, so the big masjid is called jami'. Musalla is any place you allocate it for a specific time of praying. It means for Dhuhr and Asr, for Maghrib, Jum'ah only. So it does not 5 daily salah, and there is no Jum'ah in it. If there is a place you're just praying two fard, two salah per week or per day, this is not a masjid. It does not have the condition of the masjid. It does not fulfill with the restriction that you should avoid it in the masjid. So again, we're just talking about selling and buying inside the masjid. Is it allowed to sell and buy, to do some agreement, a contract inside the masjid, to sell your phone inside the masjid, to sell your car inside the masjid, is allowed or not? And before we start explaining that, we explain what is the masjid. What is the definition of the masjid? The masjid, from the verb sajada. Sajada means prostrate. Put your head on the ground. This is called prostration. So any place Muslim can pray in it, except the toilet and the graveyard. Unless you're praying a funeral prayer. You can't pray a funeral prayer there, but the normal salah is prohibited to pray there. So any place, since it's a clean, no impurity, no najasa, you can pray in it, except the toilet and the graveyard. So this is a masjid. And then we have jami'. Jami' means collection of people, collected the people. People collected or gathered in this place, we call jami'. Like this big masjid is called jami'. The big masjid is called jami'. And especially in the Jum'ah, if you are living in a Muslim country, you will find some masajid just only for 5 daily salah and they close. And on Jum'ah, everyone, on Friday prayer, everyone go to the big masjid to pray there. So this jama'. And then we have musalla. We have musalla. Musalla is the places that you pray 1 or 2 or 3 daily salah. Maybe pray dhuhr only, asr only, maybe jum'ah only. So it is a musalla. Since it is a musalla, and also in Eid prayer, either the Eid comes after Ramadan or Eid comes after the Adha. So you pray outside in a open space. This is called musalla, not masjid. So the musalla does not has the restriction on inside the masjid, because in masjid there's some rules you have to follow when you enter the masjid. First, when you enter the masjid, pray 2 rak'at or 2 it's called rak'at in English.
I've heard them say 2 units of prayer.
Yeah, 2 units of prayer.
That's like saying like greetings, I guess.
Yeah, but 2 greeting rak'at, whatever. Before you enter, you pray 2 units of prayer. It's a good example. Good translation. Sorry? Yeah, I'm talking about the rak'ah. What's the tahiyya is greeting. But the rak'ah is a unit, 1 unit. We have the rak'ah is unit of the prayer.
That's 2 units.
2 units, okay. So you have 2 units before you enter and sit down, pray 2 rak'at or 2 units of prayer. This is called Tahiyatul Masjid or greeting of the masjid. But for the Kaaba or the house of Allah in the Mecca, there is no 2 greeting prayer. You do 7 round around the Kaaba, or the what's called tawaf. Tawaf, you do 7 circuit around the Kaaba, called tawaf. طيب.
Also, when you visit the Kaaba, you have to do the tawaf.
It's not a have. It is like when you enter the masjid, it is recommended to pray 2 rak'at. But when you do the Kaaba, it is recommended from the Sunnah to do tawaf. But if there is a crowd, you don't need to have it. Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah, it's not compulsory. It's optional. طيب. So this is the masjid, the musalla, and the jama'. So the jama' or the masjid, if you enter, pray 2 rak'at. Also in a masjid, it is not allowed to sell or buy items, or to advertise for your business, or to talk about your business inside the masjid. This is kind of etiquette of adab of masajid, because masjid is a place of worship. It's not a place for business. It's not a place of playing. It's not a place of doing contracts and transactions or something like that. except the marriage contract, of course, you can do that inside the masjid, no problem. So in selling and selling and buying in a masjid, it is prohibited to sell or buy inside the masjid. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا رأيت الرجل يبيع ويبتاع في المسجد فقولوا لا أربح الله تجارة.
I think there was a phone call. It's a phone call.
Phone call? Okay. Maybe.
You can put the
It's
not connected to Wi-Fi. Put the line.
yeah, but خلاص ماشي. So it is prohibited, like Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As said in the hadith, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibits selling and buying inside the masjid. طيب, but we need to be careful and differentiate between selling and buying inside the masjid and paying the money to someone who already you did agreement outside the masjid. For example, if you bought a car for your brother and you said to him, I will give you the money in the masjid, no problem. You already did the contract outside the masjid and everything outside the masjid, but just give the money inside the masjid. This is not a problem, because this is like you fulfill the person his right, not trading. You already did the trade outside the masjid and then you have give the money inside the masjid. Here we have a mas'ala or case. What about advertising inside the masjid? To advertise for your business inside the masjid. It's not allowed to put any flyers or any leaflet inside the masjid to promote for your business. You can put it outside in the announcement board, whatever, but inside the masjid it is prohibited. Look, if charity different, but I'm saying a business. If you're doing something for business, even if you promote for Hajj and Umrah trip or journey, because it's a business, you're not doing for free, still business.
What are you putting the machines there?
This is for different. This charity.
Machines there to collect the money.
For what? Which purposes?
This for the masjid.
Yes, this donation and charity different. I'm talking about business. This is not a business. So any business, even it is a religious business, it is not allowed to have inside the masjid any advertise like that. Like for example, you cannot announce if you take money for Quran class, it's not allowed to announce that in the masjid. But if you do it for free, you can announce.
We have those graveyards for the military. We have the advertising over there. So is that allowed to be inside the masjid in that corner over there?
If you ask from a Shar' point of view, it is business.
It's not free.
No, it is business, I'm saying. So any business, it is not allowed inside the masjid.
So why do you bring it here?
Wallah, it's not my responsibility. I'm saying what
No, we got tomorrow morning. That is the case. You're not allowed to, so we get it outside. We get it outside.
I'm not sure who bring it here, but if you ask me from the Islamic point, yes, any business, even religious business, means that if you take benefit, it's not allowed inside the masjid. You can put it outside the masjid, no problem. Then all the trading and all the advertising inside the masjid is not allowed. The second prohibition inside the masjid, when the Friday prayer started, after the imam stand on the minbar, this is called minbar, and it is prohibited to sell or trade. So for example, if you are in Arundel shopping center nearby here, and you know that the sheikh start his khutbah on the minbar 1:30, and you're still there, it's haram to buy or sell anything, haram. You be sinful, you have sins if you do that. Okay? Once the imam stand on the minbar after the second adhan, it will be prohibited to sell or buy except women, children, traveler. This is have exemption for praying Jum'ah. The women and children and traveler. So the adhan of Jum'ah.
Before the second adhan is allowed.
Yes. we mentioned here second adhan. Is that mean there is first adhan? Okay, I give you the story of the adhan. Adhan means call for prayer. And every salah has call for prayer. It comes before or on the time of the salah. So every salah, every prayer have a specific timing. The dawn start when the dawn start, when the light of the dawn start. The noon salah or the zuhr salah, when the sun in the middle of the sky. And the afternoon salah, which is asr salah, when the object shadow equal to its size. And the maghrib salah on the sun set. And the isha salah start from disappearance of the red light until the fajr. Because after maghrib you can see in the sky a reddish light or the red light in the sky. Shafaq, ahsant, shafaq. This shafaq will disappear and then the isha start or the evening salah start. So adhan is a call for prayer on this time. There are some exceptions. There are two prayer you made adhan before the time. The first prayer is a fajr or the dawn prayer. There are two adhan of the fajr. The first one in the false time of dawn, when there is still night, to let the people prepare themselves for suhoor, for the evening meal, which is preparation for fasting. And Ramadan is coming soon, and you will know that it is recommended for you to stay healthy and good in fasting, to take a meal just before Fajr dawn. Maybe if the dawn time is about 5 o'clock, you take the suhoor 4:30, for example. So that means that this dawn is actually in the false timing of prayer. No prayer now, just eat the suhoor. And then the second one on the actual time of prayer. This is Fajr. The Jum'ah, the same. Jum'ah has two adhan. How many? The first one before the time of Jum'ah prayer. And this is introduced by Uthman ibn Affan, the third Khalifa. When he noticed that the Muslim expanded around the masjid in Medina, and many Muslims didn't hear the adhan because they are far from the masjid, and especially in the market, in a place called Al-Zawra. Al-Zawra market is near to Medina, and he send someone to call adhan on the market to let the people prepare to come to the masjid. This is before the Jum'ah. But what about doing two adhan in one place? It does not make the same necessities that needed before, because Uthman ibn Affan, when he did that before the time on the place outside the masjid to call the people. So it doesn't make sense you call adhan inside the masjid. The people are already there. If you want to do the first adhan, do it outside in the market, and then. But anyway, you can do it. It's not an innovation, but it's still you can do it. But I'm saying the purposes of the two adhan. So once the imam on the member and the adhan of the second adhan started, it's prohibited to sell and buy. This is selling and buying inside the masjid. So now we understand what is the masjid, what is the jami'. What is the jami', by the way? The big masjid, the big one. And masjid, any place of prayer. Musalla, specific place just for few prayers. So it has no ruling. So that means that you can sell and buy inside the musalla. You can, you don't need to pray 2 rak'at of greeting masjid, because it's not a masjid. It does not have the ruling of the masjid.
And you mentioned in Musalla you can pray Jummah.
You can pray Jummah, of course.
Does it need a specific number of people?
Okay, very good question. Is there a specific number of people of Jum'ah? If you look to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, history in the Jum'ah. The first Jum'ah was done in the Medina by As'ad ibn Zarara, the head of the Ansar, the Aus of the Khazraj, and there was about 40. And there is a place now in Medina called Friday Masjid al-Jum'ah, because this is the first masjid that starts the Jum'ah. And from that, Shafi'iyya said it should be 40. It should be 40. In order to make Jum'ah valid, it should be 40. Keep this side, because it is a weak opinion. The second opinion, which is, I believe, Malikiyya, said that 12. And on which base? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was giving a Friday speech, khutbah. And the Sahaba was still just accepting Islam. And they heard the sound of the caravan came from Syria and Sham and Sham. And in this time they will have a poverty and waiting for the food and the dress. So imagine, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was giving the khutbah, and some of the Sahaba left the khutbah to look for the caravan that came from Syria or Sham. And only 12 Sahabi stayed with him. The 4 Khulafa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Jabir ibn Abdullah, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and few. So because of this number 12, the Malikiyya said the minimum number is 12. Al-Ahnaf, which closer to the correct. Al-Ahnaf said it is minimum you have Imam, Mu'adhin, and follower, Ma'mum. So you have 3 minimum. Hanabila or Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mentioned any number that regarded as a Jama'ah means 2. 2 is enough. 1 gives the khutbah and 1 listens to the khutbah. That's enough. And this is open a flexibility for everyone who have a hardness to pray the Jum'ah. I know some of our sons who in studying in the schools, they refuse to let them go outside to pray the Jum'ah. And then some of them asked me, and I mentioned to him, do you have any Muslim friend in the school? And he said, you have about 2. I said to him, it's okay. Just prepare short khutbah, introduction, Inna alhamdulillahi nahmadu wa nasta'inu bihi wa nastaghfiruh, the very simple introduction, and then read 1 hadith. Innama al-a'malu bin-niyyat. Indeed, action is by intention. That's it. Wa qumu ila as-salah, stand for salah. That's it. And don't leave the prayer. Because if you are 2, you are able to make Jum'ah. But if you have the ability to go to the masjid, it's not allowed to that. It's not allowed to that. It is only in the necessity. If someone refused to let you go to the Jum'ah prayer and you have no options, in this case, go with this excuse or this permission. So we spoke about prohibition of selling idol, prohibition of selling dead animal, prohibition of selling wine, prohibition of selling big, prohibition of selling or buying inside the masjid. The next prohibition after the second adhan of the Jum'ah. The next prohibition is to sell over your brother selling. What does it mean? If someone wants to buy a car and he offers for the buyer, the seller, 5,000 for this car, and they already have agreement and they just need to sign the agreement, and then you go to the buyer to take the car for 6,000. This is haram, because this is your brother already agreed to take it, and you go to the buyer and increase the money over your brother. So it is also prohibited to do that. The same, if someone wants to engage with a girl and he already agreed with her family and agreed about the money he will pay it for her family, it's not allowed for you to go and said, I will offer more than him and I married her. The same concept. Once the agreement happened, it is haram to go and try to take the trading or the marriage for you.
But in Islam, Brother Ahmad, there is nothing.
Sorry?
Nothing exists without the meher. So that's the meher.
Yeah.
So there is no money, there is nothing at all.
I'm saying if
The way the people they do, this is wrong.
the mahr, it is essential. One of the pillars of the marriage is to have a mahr. Yeah. If there even the dinar, $1 even.
No, like you mentioned, if some people they trying to find a girl for the son or something, they offer money.
Yes.
Yes, and then some other people
Offer more.
Exactly. So that is the khilaf shari'ah.
Yes, it's
That's the right of the wife.
no, but he trying to give her more than his brother.
Yeah.
What happened here? If someone agreed with the father of the girl that he will give her $10,000 mahr to make them complete the marriage, and they agreed. Next day, you will go to her father and said, I will pay 12 instead of 10. You want to marry her instead of your brother. You know what I mean?
There has to be a consent, Brother Ahmed, according to Sharia.
What is that?
There has to be a consent between the guy and the girl.
Yes.
They said they have to, yes, there has to be a consent between them. But if somebody offer higher meher or something, but that's against the Sharia.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying. Type. One of the also prohibited sales and trading is to sell the fruits before it ripe. For example, if you go to the garden, it has an apple trees, and the apple tree, when it is ripe, it will be red, and you go there, still green, and you don't know did or does this apple will be ripe or it will be destroyed. So you have to see it ripe, or at least seems to be ripe in few weeks. So you have to be careful about that, because some people may go to the farmer and look to the trees around and didn't check and said to him, okay, I will buy what you produce from this farm from maybe $20,000. And maybe after a few weeks, nothing comes. But there is a substitution of such that, because in farming, especially in agriculture, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he migrated to Medina, he found the Ansar of the helper used to pay in advance the date on the palm tree date 2 years in advance. So how comes you should have certainty when you do the transaction? You don't know if this tree will produce a date or not. And then he put the Islamic way of that. The Islamic way of that called Bay'u Salam. Salam means that you're delaying receiving the items. But you have to specify the following. Wazn, weight. Kail, volumetric measurement. Timing of receiving the items. So, kailun ma'loom, waznun ma'loom, li'ajalin ma'loom. So what is the difference between weight and volumetric measurement or kail? The weight is determine the size of the fruit or the weight of the fruit, while the measurement is determine the size. I give an example. You have here a date and here apple. If I ask you, I need 1 kilo of date and 1 kilo of apple. How many date will be in 1 kilo and how many apple in 1 kilo? For example, 1 kilo of apple may be 6, and date may be 30, but still 1 kilo, is that correct? So you have to specify both. The kayl is defining the volume. So the kayl or the volumetric means that you take with your hand and full hand, how many date will be here? About 20. On the other side, if you take with your hand the apple, it will be less than that. So you have to specify both, the weight and the volume. The weight of the item and the volume of the item. As well as you have to specify the timing of receiving the items. So you go to the farmer and you said, okay, I need 1 ton of apple, red delicious apple, size approximate 50 centimeters in radius, and I will need it next year on February. And it will cost, for example, $20,000. He's $20,000. That's it. This halal, lawful. Although it's not there, but you already set the condition. What's the condition? The size, the type, the weight, the price, and the timing. No jahala, no uncertainty. This called salam, means delaying receiving the items and paying the money in advance.
What about day-to-day buy and sell?
Okay, this is a good question. Day-to-day buy and selling. Sometimes you don't have the items, and someone comes to you and asks you, I need to buy these items. And you have these items with other supplier online. The Shafi'iyya said this could be permissible like that, and we called instantaneously delaying the items, or salam al-hal, or instantaneous, salam al-hal. What is the meaning of salam al-hal and salam mu'ajjal? Salam hal means instantaneous salam. Salam mu'ajjal means delaying salam. Salam means that you're delaying receiving the items. So salam al-hal, or instantaneously salam, you specify the items and you already know the item is there. It not will be reduced after a few months, but the item is there, but not in your hand. It is in the other store. For example, when you in Amazon or any types of Alibaba, whatever this type, or what else? Any eBay, like that. Yeah, all this, it has all in their stores the items and a full description of the items with a photo of the items, with the size of the items. And then in this case, if you send it to the customer, all the description, all the specification, and he pay in advance, and he receive after maybe a few days, no problem. The same. The difference between this only opinion of Shafi'iyya, but I'm following that because the majority of the Jumhur said it is not allowed. But if you want to follow the correct one, follow this opinion because it is make easiness for the people. If you specify the items, size, color, shape, weight, you see the picture, and then send it to the customer, and he's happy, he pay in advance, and that's no problem.
No uncertainty.
It's certain here. خلاص? So this is selling an items which is not in your hand. Because Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith, لا تبع ما ليس عندك. Don't sell something you don't have it. But this is exception. If you specify the items, the size, the shape, the timing, everything, and in this case, you have to pay the money in advance. This not applied, by the way, to in building. Take care about in building. Building different. Because sometimes some of the real estate sell the items and still the land on. And they do like a maquette, or what is a map showing the shape of the building after it will. This is not allowed because it's uncertainty. You don't know what happened of that. Like if I told you, okay, I sell for you the fish inside the sea. How much? How many? I don't know. You have to have a certainty. So also, the opposite of this transaction is the installment transaction. Installment means that you delay the payment, but you take the item. Opposite to this one. The one I'm talking about first is you delay the item and you pay in advance. The installment, you do the reverse. You take the items first and delay the payment. It is lawful with condition.
There is a consent.
Yeah, but it's still lawful with a condition. What is condition? You have to specify from the beginning how much will cost if you take it on 20 years or if you take it cash. From the beginning, clear for the customer. For example, this car, cash 10,000. 5 years, it will be 15,000. From the beginning, you specify, no problem with that. And the person should own the items, not an intermediate. Means, for example, the bank may be intermediate between you and the buyer. And then he gives the money to the buyer and deal with you. So he gives money to the seller and deal with you. This no, not allowed. You have to own one-to-one transaction, no one intermediate. Yes, no third party. So it has to be clear from the beginning how much will be cash, how much will be installment. Also, some people may put a condition, like if you delay it, you'll be charged fine. It is riba. It's not allowed. Unless some people maybe try to do a trick to avoid payment. In this case, you charge fine for that. But sometimes some people have a hardship and cannot pay. This is not applied. But if someone has the money but he tries to avoid paying, to spend the money in different purposes, in this case, the court can fine him money. No problem with that. Also, third condition is very important. I'll finish by that, inshallah. Sometimes they mention to you, if you give us maybe 20% cash at the beginning, it will be different than if you give us 10%. No, you should have a specific rate from the beginning. Doesn't matter how much you pay in the front. Understand this? So this is the installment transaction, and this is indicate that you take the items first and then you delay the payment, but with agreement from the beginning. Agreement about the total number from the beginning. And I stop on this point in maybe 1 or 2 minutes. If you have any questions, happy to answer. All goods? Right. Maybe after we stop the live, we can sit together for any questions. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
The reason why I asked